Hi everyone, I'm Jocelyn Pelchat. Today we're going to be doing an integration class on the mat. So integration means intermediate. You'll need a block or anything that can support your head or your knee at one point during our session. So grab something in your house that might resemble this, something sturdy that can support you. And we're going to start, I'm lying on my right side, so you're going to lie on your side. I'm first going to set up the movement, so bear with me here while I set the body up. The bottom shoulder, the right shoulder, is not rolled forward in front of you, so you do want to kind of pull it back and have it underneath your side body. So it's actually supporting you and helping to create this small little space in your bottom waist. You can cradle the block with that right arm. And then the bottom waist, as I was mentioning, we have a space here in our side waist. And what that means is my spine is fairly neutral in its alignment, right? So sort of like lying horizontally on its side. And then a good indicator of whether your hips are in alignment or not is checking where your knees align here. And if your top knee is forward, then your top hip is probably rolled forward. And if your top knee is behind your bottom knee and there's this gap, then it's likely that your top hip is rolled back. So you want to make sure that everything is sort of in alignment and stacked properly. Okay, and we're trying to keep this small space in the bottom waist. We're going to start with the top arm up, and we're starting with small little circles. So we're going to be warming up our shoulder. So what I'm doing here is allowing the humerus, the arm bone, to sink a little bit in towards my shoulder socket, into my trunk, if you will. Think of it as a mortar and pestle if you want, and think of it as we're sort of just letting things sink, right? So there's not a lot of effort here. It's just letting the bone find its little bowl. So the circles start to get a little bit bigger. And as those circles get bigger, I'm just paying attention to what the body is telling me. Is there any discomfort in any of these ranges of motion? And the goal is always to move without pinching or these areas where we feel tightness. So we want to move within a range that feels right for us. And you can increase that range of motion if it feels good for you. Just really pay attention that the arm bone here in the shoulder socket doesn't feel like it's trying to clunk or maybe perhaps come out of that alignment, okay? So always move within the range that does not cause A, discomfort, B, clunking, or feeling like it's literally coming out of the socket. We're going to do about 6 more of these. Nice breath with each of those circles, really just warming up the whole shoulder complex. And then we come back to a neutral alignment, arm comes back up to the ceiling, and then from here we're going to raise the arm all the way up overhead, and then all the way down to our hip. What's going on here is a big upward rotation of our shoulder blade and a downward rotation, so we're still warming up the whole shoulder complex with movement of the humerus and the scapula. This will help us later on as we're trying to load into our shoulders to mobilize our hips. We really want to target the shoulders at the beginning so we can find strength to support the movement that's going to be a little bit more challenging. It's a gentle way to warm up the body and the moving parts that we're going to be needing a little bit later. Good. All right, arm comes back up. And one of my favorites, we're going to do the chest opener. So you take the arm forward, which means you're rocking forward a little bit with your ribs. And then it's not so much the arm that's moving, but rather your spine as you open up. So think about the ribs, almost like if you were trying to roll over onto your back in bed, and then you come forward again. So here you want to make sure your spine feels comfortable with that. If you have any contraindications, be mindful of deep rotation. And you're rotating from your rib cage, not your lumbar spine. Your lumbar spine does not rotate, contrary to popular belief. You want to be rotating from your ribs. Base ribs is good. Base ribs is good. That works well. Good. When we open up the chest like this, we really want to feel the expansion through the front of the chest along with this widening across the collarbone on that left side if you're lying on the same side as me. We'll go about 3 more like this. You'll notice we don't count. We move until things start to feel that they're truly opening up. And besides that, it takes so much time for our brain to actually catch what's going on that we don't want to be doing sets of 8. You'd like it now, but when we're doing hard things, it'll be a little bit more difficult. All right, now let's go ahead and take the arm back up. We're going to bend the elbow down to the side of the rib cage here. So you've got your arm in a 90-degree angle. You can have it a little bit in front of the rib, but you don't want it behind the rib. So you don't want your elbow to disappear behind you here. It should be either right on side rib or side waist, or a little bit in front. We're going to take the arm down, and then we're slowly going to lift it back up. Just a little bit of rotator cuff support here. After we've warmed things up and mobilized the fascia, we can maybe access the rotator cuff a little bit. Watch that the arm bone here in the shoulder is sitting in the back, towards the back of that shoulder. And also see if you can feel the back of your shoulder around the blade area, if you will, but not here, not where the tendon attaches to the arm bone. So monitor for that, maybe reduce the range of motion. We'll go about 3 more like this. Maybe a little armpit squeeze to activate things in the back. And then we come back to a neutral position. You can rest your top arm down. We're going to start here with the clamshell. We're all familiar with these. We want to lift the top leg up just a little bit and then back down. As we're doing this, we're paying attention that the bottom waist still stays lifted and that you're working through like this. If you had a side pocket slit in your pants and you could slide your hand towards the back side pocket, that's sort of the muscle that you want to be using here, okay? So you're lifting a little bit. You want to keep your hips in that perfect alignment, and you can always gauge by checking to see where the top knee lands, and then you'll know. For those of you who are hypermobile, you'll probably be able to range that leg a lot higher, but try not to. Your hip probably needs more stability, so don't go to its maximum range of motion, okay? So you want more stability for later years when things start to need more of that. All right, so we're going to go ahead now and we're going to lower that top knee down, and now the knees stay stacked. And once again, you're going to make sure that top knee doesn't roll forward, but you're going to give me an internal rotation. Internal rotation is here at the hip joint. So you want to feel that femur turn inwardly, and then it comes back to its normal alignment, and then it turns in, and then back to its normal alignment, and again it turns in. Right, so we're looking for a sensation of maybe a release through the deep glute muscles, okay? That's the goal of this one, and then we're gonna put it all together. So we're gonna go ahead and lower the top foot down. We lift the top knee. As the top knee comes down, think of it as a fulcrum right here that you're gonna pivot on, and then the knee comes down as the foot comes up, and the foot comes down to lift the knee up. We tap the knees, we tap the feet. We tap the knees, we tap the feet, and we're always maintaining that alignment. This one starts to work those side bum muscles a little bit more. We'll go for 4 like this. Sometimes that counts. Good. and then you can lower everything down. We take a deep breath, we check in with our alignment, everything's looking good. We're going to go ahead and lift the top knee and foot, and then we lower back down. So when we lift, we're not coming much higher than the hip. Think of this as some sort of plateau here. So when you lift, you want to feel that everything is level, and then down. And we reach the high plateau and then down. And if you notice that your foot lifts first, such as this, you want to be able to lead with the knee. Make your foot the follower, okay? We lift and we lower. This one's really going to start to target those side glute muscles, which is a big goal of today's session. We're really going to target our lateral system. We're going to work with deep, long lines of the body. And then we're also going to pay attention to what that means in our bodies and what that feels like after we do a specific exercise. So we're going to go ahead and lift again and hold. We're going to start the forward sweep. So like you're breaking at the front of the hip here, you're going to sweep your knee in towards your chest. Again, you want to make sure that top bum doesn't come with you. So you want to feel that your sitting bone over here is widening, not tucking and try to come with you. Then you're going to send your knee back in space. So you're not unbending your knee, you're just sending your hip into extension. You fold, break at the front of the hip, bring your knee into the chest, widen the sitting bone, and then send your knee back. Almost like if you were gliding that bent leg on a glass table. All right, so we're going forward and back. This one's going to target your glute max fibers because they attach here. I'm just going to show right here. So they wrap around the bum and they attach here to the back of your thigh bone. And if working properly, they should feel like they're lengthening when you bring the knee forward and then shortening when you send your leg back. And that's the goal of this exercise, is to get that thick, deep muscle. It's like that, it's not deep, sorry. It's thick and it's one of the biggest muscles that we have. And that's the muscle we want to target with this. All right, so lots of glutes, lots of burn. We're going to go 3 more. So we bring the knee in and we send it back. And again, bring it in. And see if you can be soft in your anchoring part. So if you notice that you're starting to grip in that shoulder or in the bottom leg, soften a little bit how you're lying down on the mat. We're going to go ahead and bring the knee forward again. So it's kind of stacked on top of the bottom one. And now we're going to put it all together. We come forward, up, back, and down. And again, forward, and up, and back, and down. And the trickiest part here is probably trying to keep that bottom waist lifted and the trunk really still as you're working through those glute muscles. Right, so we're a lot of stabilizing on the underside, mobilizing on the top side, and a ton of control. Good. Let's go ahead and reverse the motion. In good Pilates fashion, we always do both directions. And we're going to go up, forward, and back. Up, forward, down, and back. Up, forward, down, and back. And one more time. Good. And then all the way back down. Take a deep breath. We're going to go ahead now and lift ourselves up. And you're going to come onto all fours. And from all fours, both hands are underneath your shoulders. Knees are underneath your hips. And you're just going to rock forward and back. Now what I want you to pay attention here to is both sides of your body. And if you rely on your right side and you worked on your left side, you should feel like things are longer on that left side. Maybe your trunk feels a little bit longer. Maybe you feel like you've got more space for your thigh bone to sort of move inside this hip joint. Maybe you feel a little bit longer on your left arm or lighter on your left wrist. Pay attention to that. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and come back to a neutral position. And I want you to lengthen your left leg now. Okay, so we're going to be on all fours. You're pressing into your right knee and left wrist. And you're going to reach your left leg back. And then you're going to pull it back in. We're going to do that again. We're trying to not to shift all of the weight into the right side. So you're going to shift weight into left hand with right knee, sort of anchor, but without leaning to the right. And then you bring it back in. So the only thing that should really be moving here is that left leg, and it's moving from here, from the crease at the base of your bum. So you extend the leg back, and then you bring it in. When we're in quadruped, we want to be tall on those arms. Now the left arm is going to be a lot easier to support you from the work that we did before. So we're reaching back, and then we come back in. We're going to reach back. We're going to pull back in. And then you're going to go ahead and reach it back one more time, and then draw it back in. You're going to shift your weight into your right hand now, and then take your left arm up to the sky and lower it down. Once again, you reach your left arm up to the sky and lower it down. Reach your left arm up to the sky and down, and just one more time, and then down. Perfect. Grab your block and then come on over to the second side. So now I'm lying on my left side, and we're going to repeat the whole motion here from this side. Lying on your left side, you've got that small little breathing space in your bottom waist. You've got the shoulder tucked back, so it's not rolled forward. Knees are stacked, they're in perfect alignment. And we're going to take the right arm up to the sky and start with our small circles. Everything is different from one side to the other, so don't expect things to feel the same or work the same. We're going to have different tightness, different ease. Perhaps you're stronger on this side, perhaps your first side was stronger. The goal is to pay attention and be curious, have awareness, but never criticize. Okay, so this is not about, oh my God, why is this side not doing things the way I want them to? It's always about looking at things with curiosity and trying to understand the why. So we're going to start to increase the range of motion as long as we're not moving with discomfort or any pinching sensations. And the goal is always to just reduce the range of motion if there's a lot of pinching or clunking. Clunking's never truly bad. It just means that things are not properly in the perfect alignment, or we're simply aging, as long as there's no pain, right? Noise is noise. It doesn't always mean that there's something going on that's underlying, that needs attention. We're going to go about 4 more like that. Nice big breath with each of those circles. Good. All right, we take the arm back up to the ceiling. We're going to start with our big lateral arc. So we go up and over, big upward rotation here for our shoulder blade. You're going to feel this nice stretch in your armpit, and you take the arm down. It's like you're moving in between 2 panes of glass on this one. Feel the stretch here, even through that side waist, all the way down to the hip, and then take it all the way down. Nice big inhale, arm goes up and over, and then exhale down. And again, so on this side, always pay attention to how you're anchoring yourself. Like I mentioned before, you want to move without discomfort. So if there's an area of your body that needs to readjust, always readjust it. Because if you don't, you're going to be focusing more on the discomfort than on the goal of the exercise. So make yourself as comfortable as possible in your side lying position. If you need to pad your hip or pad your shoulder, whatever you need, if you're using 2 mats, we'll go one more time. Okay, arm comes up. We're going to pause here. We're going to start with the chest opener. So we take the arm forward, rocking forward on the rib. And then as we open up, we're going to rock back. And then you're going to take it forward again. If your top knee starts to move back as you open up the ribs, you're probably a little bit tighter on this side. I'm mentioning it now simply because I'm observing it in my own body. I'm tighter on this side. So when I go to open back, it pulls on my pelvis and my top knee rolls back. It's not wrong. It's simply an indication of what my body needs, okay? The goal is not to stretch things back into place or pull things back into place unless we're really targeting neutral. Here we're looking at spine rotation, so that perfect alignment of the knees is not as relevant. We'll go for 3 more like this, and then we're targeting a little bit of that rotator cuff. This one should feel good. General consensus is a positive one for this exercise. Good. Taking that arm back up, you're going to reset the body in that perfect neutral alignment. We're going to bend that elbow down to the side waist, maybe a little bit in front or directly, but not behind. And then you're going to start with your rotator cuff. So small little motion down and up. And like I mentioned, it's going to feel different from one side to the other. So you can reduce the range of motion, but you do want to feel this in the back of your shoulder. Good, let's go for 3 more. Maybe we add that little armpit squeeze, like if you wanted to fold squeeze a folded newspaper between your arm and your rib. All right, let's pause here. Settle in for our side body work here for the glute to make sure the bottom waist is still lifted. We're going to start with our clamshell. So the top knee comes up and then back down. Top knee comes up and then back down. Top knee comes up. So side pocket glute area on this side as well. And again, we don't want to go too far. We're working within a range that should not exceed 45 degrees. Good. You should start to feel some side glute activation, hopefully. And then you're going to go ahead and pause with the knee down. And we're going to start with our internal rotation. So it's the foot that lifts as you internally rotate inside your hip joints and then come back to neutral. And again, we internally rotate and back to neutral. Internally rotate and neutral. And again. Yeah. Really feeling for the lengthening through those deep hip rotators. 3 more. We think of it this way. If you're shortening muscles to activate the rotation outwards, they're lengthening when you go in the opposite direction. We're going to do our windshield wipers. We lift the knee up, and then as the knee comes down, the foot comes up. Tap the toes, tap the knees. Tap the toes, tap the knees. And I go slow on this one to really emphasize the work that I want to be done here. So it's not toes down, knee up, knee down, toes up. And it's not somewhere in space where we're not completing the motion. Really make this, be intentional. Toes tap, knees tap. The rotation happens in the air. In the air. We turn out, we turn in. Meanwhile, hips stay neutral, right? Trunk is in that neutral alignment on its side. We're gonna go for 3. You're probably wondering when I'm gonna start counting. Stop talking. 2 and 1. Good. Lower everything down. We're gonna go ahead, reset the body once more. Always make sure we're not carrying tension in our anchoring side, and then we're gonna lift the knee and the foot, and then back down. We lift the knee and the foot, and we lower back down. This is my weaker side, so it is very much screaming right now. It does not want to do any more repetitions, but I'm gonna push through it. So we lift, and then we lower. Good. So here we're looking for that side pocket activation. We want those muscles to be responsible for lifting the thigh bone up, right? So they're side hip muscles. And then on the next one, we're going to pause, and then we're going to focus on glute max fibers. So we're bringing the knee in, making sure the sitting bone doesn't come with us. So this pelvis stays reaching back, and then we send the leg back into a hip extension. So we're feeling a stretch here towards the front hip, and then we come forward again. Break at the front of the hip. You're drawing your knee in, sending your bum back, and then you send your leg back. And your hip doesn't move as much as possible. You're trying to keep the hip in that perfect alignment, perfectly stacked on top of the bottom one. In a perfect world. We go forward, and then we go back. Good, and we'll take it forward. We break at the front of the hip, and we're breathing throughout. Right, so we're never holding our breath in Pilates or grinding our teeth for that matter. That's just going to cause neck tension, headaches. Good, let's go ahead and bring that knee forward again, and then we're putting it all together. So we're going up, and then back, and then down, and forward, and up, and back, and down, and forward, up, and back, down, and forward. One more in this direction. Here we go, full breath cycle. And we're going to reverse the motion. So we're going to go back, and up, and forward, and down, and back, and up, and forward, and down. One more time, back, and up, and forward, and down. Bring the legs together. Take a deep breath. We're going to come up to all fours. From all fours, make sure the hands are directly underneath your shoulders. Start to rock back and forth again, and let's assess how things feel on this side. Are you starting to feel maybe a little longer on your right side now, or do you feel a little bit more level, right? And things are going to vary every time we work one side to the other, but we should start to feel like there's a bit of a difference in our bodies. If anything, we're definitely more awake now. Coming back to the neutral alignment, we're going to start with our hip extension. And so you're reaching the leg back, so you're moving from the crease at the base of your bum, and then you draw the knee back in. We're tall on those arms, we're not collapsed, we're not hanging out over here, we're supporting ourselves. And then you bring the leg back in. Extend and bend. We're trying not to shift over to that left side, so which means your right hand is really anchoring down into the ground. So I haven't really talked about belly to spine or anything like that, because as long as you're breathing, your core is engaging. Okay, so the most important part is to focus on the breath. You want to be able to inhale or exhale. I don't really care here, but as long as you're breathing. Okay, so reach back and in, and one more time. Good. and then all the way back in, and we're gonna go to the shoulder now. So you're gonna shift your weight in your left hand, reach that right arm up, and then back down. And again, reach your right arm up, and then back down. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, and one more time here. Good, all the way down. All right, we're coming back onto our first side. So I'm gonna shift over so that I'm facing the camera again. Your block can be used when you're doing your side bridge position. So I'm gonna lie on my side, I'm resting on my forearm. And what I wanna check in here is once again, the alignment of my knees. I also wanna check that my arm feels like it is perfectly vertical, okay? So I don't wanna be here, and I definitely don't wanna be here. This is way too loaded on your shoulder. Your arm bone isn't even in the socket when you're here. So you wanna make sure that you're perfectly stacked. You're lifting your bottom rib up, so your armpit is supporting you. And then that arm bone shouldn't feel like it's jutting forward in the socket. You should be able to feel like it's actually hanging towards the back, and then you'll actually feel your armpit engage, okay? So when we're doing our side bridge, it's about anchoring through that bottom knee and the elbow, and we lift and then back down. Think of it as you're squeezing the elbow and the knee in towards one another, like they're being drawn together by a magnet. We also want to keep our head in alignment with our spine, and we are in between two panes of glass. So I'm not rotating my body. I'm not coming over here like this. That's not a side bridge, okay? So I'm lifting in between two panes of glass. Now I said you could use your block. For some, this can be really useful, right? In order to keep that alignment in between two panes of glass. So maybe you're doing this right now. Okay, we're gonna add on to that. So we lift, we're gonna hold at the top. Top knee and foot are coming up. They come back down, and then you lower your hips down. We're gonna do that again. We lift up the hips. We're anchoring through that underside. We lift up the top knee and foot, then down. So here we're going like 45 degrees, but it's not like clam here because the feet are separating. So we lift, we lower, all the way down. We're just going to do one more like that. So we lift the leg, lower the leg, and lower the hips. What's really important as we progress is to take little breaks in between. So we're going to turn our body a little bit towards the mat. You're going to send your hips back to get this big stretch for your right shoulder and for your side body. And then you're going to come forward and look up to the sky. Let's do that again. So really turn your head as well. So you're getting some neck rotation in there. So maybe let the head hang in this stretch. And then when you come forward, look up to the sky, a little bit like Cleopatra, if you will. So we stretch, and then we dump a little bit towards the mat as we look up, and we're gonna do one more time. We have one more progression. So we just wanted to give the body a little bit of a break in between so that we're not loading up our top neck to do our underside work, right? So through fascial systems, that's how that works. So most of you were probably feeling a lot of the top neck as well. We're gonna anchor ourselves down. We're gonna lift up the hips. We're gonna lift up the top knee and foot, and then you're gonna extend the leg out, straight out. You bend it back in, you lower the leg down, lower your hips. These tougher exercises, we only do 4, or we vary, but for today's sake, since this is so loaded into that underside, we're just gonna do 3 more, okay? So we bend, lower, and drop the hips down. Again, we lift, we're in between 2 panes of glass. Your block can still be in front of you here. I'm perfectly fine with that. Watch that top of underside bum doesn't drop. And we're gonna go one more time. We lift, extend, and then lower everything down. Come on back to all fours. So that was the right side, and what we're going to do now is we're going to round our back. We're going to do a cat-cow, and then arch. And again, pay attention to the strength that you feel, or the power that you feel in your right side in comparison to your left side. 2 more. Good. And then we're going to turn over to the second side. Okay, block comes with me. I'm not going to use it, but by sheer habit, I brought it with me. And you never know, maybe I will. Okay, so top hand is, the bottom arm, not the top arm. The bottom arm is vertical. Okay, we're anchoring our elbow down and our forearm down. You can make a fist, you can have your fingers pointing, whatever feels right for you. And you're gonna make sure the knees are stacked and hips are stacked, feet are stacked. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna lift up the hips and then we lower them back down. We're trying not to rotate the body. Try to keep your head aligned with your spine. We lift and we lower. Exhale to lift. Inhale to lower. Again, exhale to lift. Inhale to lower. I like to exhale because I like to really feel that I'm using my breath, the exertion part of my breath, to contract that inner unit, the deep core muscles, at the same time as the exercise is really hard. Okay, so we're gonna lift and hold at the top. From here, we're gonna lift the knee and the foot. We lower them down, and then we lower the hips. We lift the hips, knee and foot come up, all the way down, and we lower the hips. You should feel your glute on that underside as well because it is stabilizing you. We're really going to bank on that for the next series when we're in quadruped, and we're really going to use that stabilizing side to help us. So get ready for a burn. We lift, we're going to hold here. You're going to extend that top leg long, bend it back in, lower the knee, and lower the hips. Again, we lift the knee and the foot, extend them long, fold them back in, and lower everything down. Let's do that 2 more times. We lift, knee and foot come up, they extend out, they bend back in, and lower down, and 1 more time. Good. Extend all the way in and lower back down. Let's go back to our cat-cow. Back on all fours, hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Round your back, look down, let everything kind of hang for a second. Not your belly, I mean your head. And then reverse. Shoulder blades should feel like they're gliding down your back or hugging a little bit towards the back here. And when you do your cat, you should feel like they're separating apart, like your ribs are growing out of your shoulder blades. And then you reverse. 2 more. We should feel level-ish, okay? So we have been working, targeting the left side during our whole series. So I'm going to target the left side again. So I'm going to stay facing this way. The block comes back into play. So the block is going to go underneath my left knee. So I'm coming back to quadruped, 4-point kneeling position. My hands are underneath my shoulder. My left knee is on the block and my right knee is on the ground. As you can see here, I'm not level. So to turn this way for a second, you guys will see that I'm completely unlevel. And as a result, my pelvis is unlevel. And the very first exercise requires you to simply lift up the right knee and you're gonna go into a little overshoot. So what that looks like on the side is I'm lifting my right knee and I go overshoot a little bit higher, and then I lower it back down. So my left glute has to do the work to bring my pelvis back to level and then into that overshoot. Okay, so it's all happening at the left hip. Now I also want to make sure, as I'm doing this, you guys keep doing that as I'm explaining it, that when I'm doing that, I'm not over here, right? So you don't want to end up with your hips completely to the left of the left knee. You want to try to keep this as vertical as possible. So when you go to your overshoot, you're trying to keep things in that strong vertical alignment. Okay, so you guys have probably done enough as I was explaining that. We're going to lift one more time. You're going to hold. And here, you're going to go ahead and start with your clamshell. So that bigot clamshell exercise. So we lift up the knee and the foot, and then we lower back down. I'm trying once again not to lean too far to the left. I say not too far because you are going to lean a little bit. Okay, so we go up with the right, trying to keep things level, and then down. And again, we're going to go up with the right, yeah, and then down. So now you get a little bit of the understanding of why we targeted our shoulders so much at the beginning, was to be able to support us through this series right now. Because if we didn't target those shoulders and warm everything up, we'd feel a lot of discomfort in our wrists, in our shoulders, perhaps even into our neck. We're going to go for 2 more. Good. And then we're going to hold the next one over here, and then you're going to send that leg out. It comes back in, it lowers back down, and again, we're going to go out to the side, reach that leg long, bend it back in, and lower it back down. Open it out. We don't need to move fast. We need to move with precision. So it's not the quantity here. It truly is about the quality of the movement. And that's how we get really strong and precise. And then we prevent injury. And we realign our bodies, which is kind of a sweet thing. One more time. All the way back down. Lower the knee. Once again, we're going to take the block out and we're going to rock back and forth, and you're going to feel the difference here. So your left glute is definitely on. It's going to feel like it's got, I would say, more padding, more volume. It's thicker. It feels fuller. Okay. So we're going to do the second side now. So I'm turning around again so I can face you guys. And my right knee is going to go on the block. And we're going to start with the overshoot. That's what I call it. If any of you needed a little wrist break, please take it now in between your sides. Maybe do a little bit of flicking or wrist rotations, or you could do some of these little figure eights here that feel quite nice on the wrist before you get set up. We'll be doing a few of these anyway, so you can catch up. We're going to lift that left knee up and then back down. So remember, it is that pelvic sort of overshoot. I'm just going to tuck this in so you guys get a better view of what's going on at the hips. Okay, so we go up and then down. And again, we're lifting up and then down, right? So we lift up and then down. Once again, we're trying not to send that right femur over to the right side. So I'm trying to keep everything in that perfect alignment, or as vertical as I can keep it on that right leg. We'll go for 2 more. You're going to go ahead and lift and hold now. And then we're going to open the leg up and then down. And again, open leg and then down. So the hardest thing is not leaning to the right side, I find. And you should really be feeling your right glute stabilizers here. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and open, hold, reach, fold, and lower down. We open up, we extend, we bend, and lower back down. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. I add the breath like that just to make it even slower so you can really start to hone in on what's happening in the body. And it should be burning. This is a pretty loaded exercise for the stabilizing glute. And then one more time. Good. And then all the way down. Okay, lower everything down. One more rocking motion back and forth. Let's assess, see how that feels. We should feel pretty strong across both sides of the body right now. We're gonna take it down onto our mats. So even if we didn't want any of that to be in our shoulders, chances are it wasn't our shoulders. So what we're gonna do now is really just work on mobilizing the shoulders so we can create this little sense of relief for the neck. So you're gonna press your pubic bones down into the mat for this one and have a slight external rotation of your femur. So your toes are turned out, your heels are in towards one another. And we're gonna start with the arms in a goalpost position or 90-degree angle, and you're gonna lower your forehead down. Like you're holding a peach between your chin and your chest. You're just gonna press the pubic bones down and you're gonna lift up your head to a hover. So my nose is still gazing down at the mat, if my nose had eyes. And then we lower back down. And again, we lift. So I'm working with the muscles in the back of my neck, like if I wanted to give myself a double chin, or I might be. You guys will tell me. We lift, and then lower, and then we're gonna lift and hold. So the gaze is down, nose points down, and then you're gonna go ahead. It's not a shoulder blade retraction. We're simply lifting the elbows and the hands, hoping that our arm bones feel like they're being suctioned into our trunk. We lower the elbows and hands down, take a breath, exhale, lift them back up. Suction the arm bones into your trunk and lower back down. So your whole back body should be helping you stabilize here. We lift and lower. Remember to keep the back of the head in alignment with the spine. Okay, we're gonna lift again, but this time we're gonna add something. So we lift, palms are facing down. You're gonna turn your palms in towards one another and a little bit past so that it feels like you're somewhat receiving something from the sky. Reach the arms up to a V. So remember our upward rotation from the beginning for our shoulder blades. Pull the arms back to that goal post, palms turn down, lower the arms down. If you need to lower your head in between, you can. We lift the arms up, shoulders, elbows, hands. Reach up, turning palm upwards, big V-shape arms. Back to goal post, palms down, lower the arms down. Take a deep breath. Two more like this. We lift, we reach, back to goal post and down. And let's go one more. Pressing pubic bones, pressing feet. You should feel your glutes supporting you. Reach up, fold in, and lower down. You're gonna lower your head down if you haven't already done so. We're gonna box our left arm, and then you're gonna go ahead and turn your head to the left. Your right arm can be fully extended or still in that goal post, okay? You're gonna go ahead and press your left hand down, starting to roll off the mat with your left shoulder. Reach up from the crease at of the left bum. So you're gonna lift up and you're gonna reach across to your right. And if you can gaze back. If that doesn't feel comfortable for you, avoid that part. And then slowly control yourself back down to the mat. Same side, same motion. We lift, we peak, we lift the hips, we lift the shoulders, we roll across the right hip, and then all the way back down. Lower everything down. Always focus on your anchor. So my right hand is anchoring, but my left arm is doing all of the work of the pushing and the moving away, and then slowly controlling the motion. So my right hand acts as a bit of a third wheel, or the training wheels in a cycle, but my left hand is doing most of the work, the driving force to create that rotation with my body. And then all the way back down. Okay, I'm going to turn around to do the other side. You guys can get set up. You're going to box your right arm. Left arm is in the goalpost position. And then you're going to start to press your pubic bones down at first to lift, and then reach across all the way back down. Let's do that again. We press, we lift, turn, maybe we look back, all the way down. So this should feel like a whole sort of posterior oblique system type of stretch, or posterior chain, if you will. There's some deep lawn in there as well. So if we're working with fascial chains, this will feel like you're targeting all of them. And then again, we press, and then all the way back down. Nice. Let's turn around onto our backs for our final stretches. So you're lying on your back. And I'm going to get you guys to lengthen your left leg long. We're going to take our right knee to a tabletop position. And then you're going to pull across to the left. And when you do so, you're going to go to where you can. You can always use your block here to place underneath your knee if you need a little more support. The opposite arm, the right arm, is going to reach across over to the right. And what I want you to do, I'll demo here with my left arm so you guys can see. With the right arm out to the right, I want you to go ahead and turn out and turn in and turn out. So not from your elbow. Make sure the motion is happening from your shoulder, okay? So I've got that right arm doing that turn out and turn in. You guys can't see, but you'll see when I'm doing the other side. Good. And then back to neutral. Come on back to center. Lengthen your right leg. Reach your left leg up and across. And then you'll take your left arm wide and you go to your internal and external and internal and external. Two more. Good. And then bring everything back in, bending both knees, feet flat, reach your right arm up, pull it across to your left side, give you a nice little shoulder stretch here. Maybe up overhead, holding on to the opposite elbow. And then take your left arm up to the sky, reach it across to the right. And then reach it up over your head, holding on to the elbow, and then pull it across to the opposite side. All right, give me a big stretch up. Both arms reach up overhead. We're going to roll up to a seated position. That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully we'll see you in studio or maybe next time on video. Bye now.